The acceptance letter from Stanford still lay on the kitchen counter, the crimson crest shining under the morning light. Dad didn't look at it. Instead, he struck a match, set the corner aflame, and dropped it into Mom's ceramic mixing bowl. "You won't be needing this," he said flatly. I froze, half a spoonful of cereal still in my hand. The acrid smell of burning paper filled the kitchen as the document curled into ash. The sound of James slurping his orange juice seemed unnaturally loud in the silence. Mom slid a folder across the table. Inside were enrollment forms for the local community college and a pre-printed tuition bill with my name on it. The silence stretched. James's spoon clinked against his bowl. Dad's coffee cup hit the counter with finality. I wanted to ask why, but something in their coordinated calm, the way they avoided my eyes, the way the forms were already filled out, told me this wasn't spontaneous. This was planned. 2 weeks later, at Sunday dinner with the extended family, James dropped his bombshell. "I'm leaving college to start my own business," he announced, grinning as if he'd just discovered fire. Mom and Dad exchanged proud looks. "We're going to give him $15,000 to get started," Dad said. Investment in his future? Something in me snapped. "You burned my Stanford letter, but you're funding his dropout decision?" The words came out sharper than I intended. The dining room went quiet. Uncle Bob put down his fork. "James has a concrete business plan," Dad said, defensive. "I had a full scholarship worth $280,000. Grandma's coffee cup clattered against her saucer. "You turned down Stanford?" "Girls don't stick with engineering," Mom said quickly. "She would have wasted it." James leaned back in his chair, smug. "Besides, someone needs to stay home and take care of them when they're old. That's what daughters do." I pulled out my phone and showed them the screenshot I'd taken before they destroyed my future. The complete acceptance package, scholarship details, everything. Uncle Bob squinted at the screen. "Wait, you turned down a full ride to Stanford for community college? That doesn't make sense." The uncomfortable silence stretched until I spoke again. "There's something you don't know about that scholarship money. Something that makes what you did legally complicated. And Grandma, there's something about my college fund you should probably know too. Let me give you the timeline of how I became their backup retirement plan." Age 14 to 15. Started tutoring neighborhood kids for $20 an hour. Mom immediately established that half went into my college fund. I was also required to help James with his homework every night while he played video games. When I won the regional math competition, Dad's response was, "Don't get too focused on school, or boys don't like girls who are too smart." Age 16. Got a job at the local bookstore, earning $15 an hour. Parents took 60% for household contributions. That summer, James crashed his car. Guess whose savings paid for the repairs? When I applied to an engineering summer camp, they said no because James needs help with his SAT prep. Age 17. Became valedictorian candidate and National Merit Scholar while working 20 hours a week. But when James failed 2 classes, I was pulled from debate team to tutor him. Their logic: your brother needs support? You're naturally smart, so you don't need extra opportunities. I have the receipts. Literally. Every payment stub, every forced loan to cover James's mistakes. Age 18, senior year. I applied to top engineering schools in secret using fee waivers. The Stanford acceptance arrived on a Tuesday when they were out. That night, I overheard them through the thin walls. "We can't let her get too independent. She needs to stay close to take care of us later." Meanwhile, James's acceptance to expensive state university was celebrated for weeks. They threw him a party. The pattern was crystal clear. Every achievement of mine was minimized. Every dollar redirected to James. Every opportunity filtered through what's best for the family, which always meant what benefited my parents and brother. They didn't destroy my future out of ignorance. They destroyed it deliberately to keep me as their retirement plan. The months after losing Stanford were systematically designed to break me. I was stuck in community college general studies while James lived it up at State University. They charged me $300 a month rent while covering all his expenses. I worked at Tony's Diner just to afford textbooks. The worst part was the systematic erasure. They donated my engineering textbooks to make room for James's stuff. My desk became his gaming setup. All my college prep materials disappeared during spring cleaning. One evening, I was serving a family celebrating their daughter's Stanford engineering acceptance. When they asked if I was in school, I lied about my major. I broke down crying in the restaurant bathroom. That's where Patricia, my manager, found me. "Honey, what's wrong?" she asked, handing me paper towels. I told her everything. Patricia listened without judgment, then said something that changed my life. I graduated from Stanford Business School 20 years ago. My parents tried the same thing with nursing. Want to know how that worked out for them? Patricia's office became my war room, over coffee after my shifts. She told me her story. "They forced me into nursing in the 80s, she said. Told everyone I wasn't business material. I worked nights for 10 years, saved every penny, and went back to Stanford at 30. Now I own 3 restaurants." She helped me research transfer opportunities and connected me with her lawyer friend, David. But the real breakthrough came when I was cleaning out the attic, hidden behind boxes of Christmas decorations. I found a manila envelope with my name on it. Inside were bank documents for an education savings account, started by my maternal grandfather before he died. The balance was $45,000. But there was more. The withdrawal slips showed regular payments to educational expenses, $8,000 over 2 years. I compared the signatures on the withdrawal slips to the original trust documents. The handwriting was different. Mom had been forging my signature. David confirmed what I suspected. "This isn't just family dysfunction. Your mother committed felony fraud?" "What are my options?" I asked. "Criminal charges, civil suit, or strategic pressure?" "What's your goal?" "I want my education, and I want them to understand consequences." The money legally became mine at 19, next month. They had no idea I'd discovered the forgery, or that I now had grounds for both civil and criminal charges. But more importantly, I had a choice. I could destroy them with the legal system, or I could destroy them with something far more devastating. Spectacular success they couldn't take credit for or control? I chose the latter. My first attempt was logical. I presented them with my transcript order test scores and career research proving my capabilities. "Numbers don't matter if you're not mentally cut out for it," Dad said, not even looking at my 4.0 GPA. "We've seen how you handle pressure," Mom added. "This is protecting you." "Engineers travel too much." James chimed in. "Family needs stability." Their punishment for my attitude problem was swift. They took my car for James's internship interviews, monitored my phone and computer usage, and told extended family I was struggling with the transition to adulthood. But the real sabotage was deeper. Patricia helped me discover they'd been intercepting my mail for months. Transfer opportunity information, scholarship deadlines, program updates, all thrown away without telling me. At the next family gathering, they publicly explained that I needed more structure and community college was better suited to my abilities. The relatives nodded sympathetically, seeing me as the family disappointment who couldn't handle real college. That's when I realized fighting them directly only gave them ammunition to paint me as unstable or ungrateful. I needed a different strategy. The legal foundation, David walked me through the process. Your trust fund activates next month. They can't touch it legally. What about the forged withdrawals? We can recover that money plus damages, but timing matters. I filed for financial independence, documenting years of systematic control and fraud. The paperwork felt endless, but every bank record built my case. The first rejection, I applied to transfer programs under financial hardship status. My first choice mentor, a Stanford alumna, declined to help. Family issues are personal matters, not professional concerns. Then MIT rejected my initial application due to insufficient family support documentation. The breaking point. I stared at the rejection letter in Patricia's office, feeling everything crumble. What if I'm not smart enough? I whispered. What if they were right about me? Patricia grabbed my shoulders. Listen to me. You're not your parents' opinion of you. You're not their fear talking. But the doubt had crept in. Maybe I really wasn't cut out for this. Maybe community college was my ceiling. The breakthrough call 3 weeks later. My phone rang while I was taking inventory in the restaurant storage room. Ms. Johnson, this is MIT admissions. After reviewing your appeal and additional documentation, we're pleased to offer you admission with need-based aid. I dropped a case of ketchup bottles. Patricia found me crying happy tears among the broken glass. How do you feel? She asked. Like I'm about to show them who they really raised. I planned the reveal for Sunday dinner at Grandma's house, the same setting where they'd publicly humiliated me months earlier. I wanted to thank Mom and Dad publicly for their educational guidance, I began. Standing at the head of the table, they beamed, anticipating vindication. They taught me so much about planning, saving, and making strategic family investments. Uncle Bob raised his eyebrows, but stayed quiet. That's why I'm excited to share my MIT engineering acceptance. The silence was deafening. MIT? Grandma whispered. I thought you were at community college? I was. Turns out my grades were actually exceptional. Funny how that works when you apply yourself. Dad's face had gone red. We haven't discussed this as a family decision. Oh, but we have, I said calmly. Remember the Stanford letter? You taught me that education decisions require very careful consideration. I've been extremely careful. I placed Grandfather's savings account statements on the table. Speaking of careful consideration, Grandpa's education fund for me, $45,000. Grandma leaned forward, confused. You never told her about that money? Mom's face had gone pale. We were managing it for her. Yes, you were. I slid the withdrawal slips across the table. Including these interesting transactions, David, who I'd invited as my guest, spoke up quietly. Those signatures are particularly interesting from a legal perspective. Uncle Bob picked up one of the slips. What signatures? Mom's been signing my name to access the interest, I said, my voice steady. $8,000 for James's expenses. Grandma gasped. That's fraud. But I'm not upset about the financial management. I continued, pulling out a prepared contract. I'd like to make you a business proposition. I set the payment agreement in front of my parents. I want to invest in your retirement the same way you invested in James. Same percentage you took from my earnings all these years, plus compound interest. Naturally. James finally found his voice. This is ridiculous manipulation? Is that what this is? I turned to him with a smile. I thought it was family planning. Isn't that what you called it when you decided I should sacrifice for your benefit? Uncle Bob looked at James pointedly. What exactly are you contributing to their retirement? Well, I said, his fourth business just failed. But I'm optimistic about venture number 5. After all, hope springs eternal, and someone's got to keep funding those dreams. I pulled out my MIT scholarship letter with practiced calm. Full ride, plus stipend, plus guaranteed internship placement. I looked directly at my parents. Turns out scholarship committees are remarkably generous when you don't have family support. I stood up slowly, letting the silence build. I'll graduate debt-free with job offers lined up and absolutely no obligation to anyone who didn't believe in me. The room was frozen. But don't worry about your retirement planning. You'll get exactly the return you invested in me. I paused, meeting each of their eyes. Congratulations, you raised exactly the daughter you deserved, just not the one you wanted. The immediate aftermath was spectacular. Extended family forced my parents to explain the Stanford sabotage and fraud in detail. Grandma privately apologized and offered to help with my moving expenses to Boston. Uncle Bob and Aunt Linda openly supported my MIT plans, while relatives peppered James with pointed questions about his business contributions. James stormed out. My parents sat in stunned silence as their relatives dissected their decision-making with the brutal honesty that only family can deliver. 6 months later, I made MIT's Dean's List first semester while majoring in mechanical engineering. My parents reluctantly claimed credit publicly, while privately seething over their lost control. James moved back home after business failure number 4, now working retail at the mall. Extended family constantly asked me for career advice for their kids. Grandma visited campus, proud and apologetic. I should have protected you sooner. 2 years later, I graduated summa cum laude with multiple job offers. I accepted a position at a top aerospace firm with a $95,000 starting salary, more than my parents made combined. At 24, I bought my own house while they were still renting. Then I kept my promise. The first retirement contribution arrived in their mailbox on a Tuesday. Amount, 183 years. The attached note read, calculated using the same percentage you took from my part-time earnings, adjusted for my current financial obligations, and the actual value you demonstrated you placed on my potential. This represents a 15% annual return on your investment in my future. Congratulations on your long-term planning, Amakas. Still waiting for James's contribution. I'm sure it's coming any day now. Present day, 5 years later. I'm now a senior engineer earning $14,000 annually. I married my brilliant classmate from advanced thermodynamics, someone who actually believes in my potential. My parents attended our wedding, forced to smile while meeting my impossible Stanford connections, and MIT professors who praised their exceptional daughter. Monthly retirement contributions continue. Exactly $34792, calculated to provide basic living expenses, but no luxuries. James finally found stable work at 28, motivated partly by watching his younger sister completely eclipse him. The ultimate justice happens at every family gathering. Relatives constantly praise my parents for raising such a successful daughter. They have to accept credit for success they actively tried to prevent. Every compliment is a reminder of what they nearly destroyed. Every monthly check is a receipt for the exact value they placed on my dreams. The moral calculation people ask me, why I still send them money at all. Here's the thing. I'm not cruel. I don't want them homeless or destitute. But I also believe in precise accountability. Those monthly payments, they're calculated using the exact same formula they applied to my teenage earnings, adjusted for inflation and opportunity cost, the 60% they took from my bookstore wages, the household contributions, the money diverted to James's failures. It all factors into their retirement benefits. I'm giving them exactly the security they gave me when I needed support for my dreams. Not more, not less. Just precisely proportional to the faith they showed in my potential. It's not revenge. It's mathematics. Cold, accurate, undeniable mathematics. Final reflection. They wanted a daughter who'd put family first and sacrifice dreams for their security. They got exactly that. I just defined family first differently than they expected. I put my future family first. The one I'd build with someone who believes in my potential. And I provided for their security exactly proportional to how secure they made me feel in pursuing my dreams. Sometimes the most perfect revenge is giving people precisely what they asked for, calculated down to the penny. They taught me to be practical about investments. I learned the lesson better than they ever imagined. TLDR, Parents burned my Stanford acceptance to keep me as their retirement plan, committed fraud with my college fund, and prioritized my brother's failing businesses over my education. I secretly transferred to MIT, exposed their crimes at a family dinner, and now pay their retirement at the same rate they valued my potential. Turns out the daughter they tried to keep small became exactly big enough to hold their future in her hands.